we'll just go through a couple of these. I'm with Maynard Ravnsborg of Sioux City. Maynard's 71 years old, retired, but still keeps busy driving veterans a couple of times per month to the VA in Sioux Falls. He's also a Whitfield United Methodist Church peanut brittle sales, one-man sales force of sorts.
Well, it's not really a sales force, it's a help make it, and of course I sell it too, I guess.
And you also do some fishing and some woodworking in retirement with your wife Linda north of Sioux City. But we're talking about your service today in Vietnam. You were in country throughout much of 1969, correct, Maynard?
That's correct.
And where were you? What did you do?
I was with the 1st of the 8th Artillery B Battery, and in Vietnam I was, and that was with the 25th Infantry Division. And my primary job was the charge of the communications for the artillery battery between the gun pits and the fire direction center, and also served on the shell rep team, which was responsible for when we had incoming or whatever, to make sure that we got some idea where the incoming come from, so we could relay it to the fire direction center, and that in turn turned back to the guns where they could return fire from whenever the infantry called for backup protection from the artillery.
In your fire base, there were probably, about 60 soldiers serving there?
As far as the artillery unit, as far as the ones that was in the field, we probably had, I'm guessing, approximately 60 people. A lot of our unit was back in the base area or at Cu Chi, but in the field at Firebase Pershing, we didn't have as many. We were responsible for the guns, and
the gentleman you served with, all of you came home, correct?
in our fire base, we had nobody that had, at the present time that I was there, we had no casualties. The infantry that come in and out of the fire base, they had some casualties off and on, but the fire base itself, in my time, we didn't have any casualties, and like I said, of course, our major threat was incoming from other rockets, grenades, rockets and mortars, and we in turn was responsible for direct support of the infantry.
Mm-hmm. So you were firing. How far away could these reach?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that these were 105s artillery, and I believe we could fire up to 7 miles. Mm-hmm. And of course, a lot of it was wherever they called in this, they needed it support. But we were about at Firebase Pershing, and we were about 25 miles northwest of Saigon, out toward the right close to the Cambodian border.
And you did leave somebody behind at home here when you left.
Yes, I had my wife Linda, and I had one son that was just a little over a year old when I left, and of course he was over 2 when I come home. Mm-hmm. And I left in March, and I arrived in Vietnam in March, and I was back home because they deactivated our unit after 19 months of federal service with the U.S. Army, and we got back home. I received Thanksgiving Day, I guess it was, I arrived back home. And of course our unit was deactivated in December 12th of 1969, which was the 133rd Infantry of the Iowa Army National Guard of Sioux City.
Mm-hmm. And you stayed in for a little bit, and then you were deactivated.
Yes, I had to fulfill the rest of my 6-year obligation with the Army, and then I was out for approximately, I'm guessing 8.5 years, and then I joined the Iowa Air National Guard at the 185th here in Sioux City, and I was a member of that for 18 years, and then I left the Air Guard in 1997, and then I was associated with a control unit out of Denver until 2004 when I turned 60 years old, and then I was eligible for retirement from the Air Guard and the Army.
How many years of service total?
I had 24 years of Guard time, and then with the other 7 years, I think I was credited with a total of 31 years and 4 months.
Well,
and some days.
Thanks for your service. I'm sure this was most memorable.
Well,
this experience.
yes, it was something different. It wasn't something that I guess I ever expected or planned for, but being a part of the military, that's something that you always cannot control, and I have no second thoughts about any of my military service. It was just something that was part of it, and I have no regrets, and maybe it's something I wouldn't want to do again, but yet it was something that came about, and when we were activated, we knew when we was in the Guards to start with, but I'm, not a bit hard. I don't have any hard feelings about it. It was just something that come about, and that was the way it was, and if I had to do it again, I'd do it again, but it's over, and as far as Vietnam, I'm not sure whether that was whether it was the right thing, to be in the conflict or the war, but that's the politicians solved that problem, I guess, and if they would have let the military run it like they do, or should have, probably would have maybe had a little better outcome, but that's the way it was, and we ended up kind of on the bottom side of it.
Well, thank you for serving, Maynard.
That's my pleasure.